Hello and welcome to Northeast Ohio Media Group and the Plain Dealers live wine tasting show. We're here at Heinen's. I'm Denise Polverine. We're here with a panel of experts at the Pepper Pike Heinen's location. And for the next half hour, we're going to be tasting some wonderful wines. Making up our panel of experts tonight, beginning on the end, is Heinen's beer and wine buyer, Ed Thompkins. Thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
In the middle, we have Plain Dealer columnist for beer and wine, Marc Bona. And next to me, Northeast Ohio Media Group's restaurant and dining writer, Joe Crea.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to taste 3 wines tonight, and again, they're all available at your local Heinen's location. Hopefully you are joining us at home, tasting right along with us. First, I'd like to ask you, Joe, to just kind of explain the concept here, set it up for us. What are we going to be doing tonight?
You know, there's all kinds of mumbo-jumbo and mystique about wine, and it gets tiresome real quickly, and it puts a lot of people off. I think it intimidates people, and it's unnecessary. Wine's a wonderful, fun world, and there's so much to enjoy and so much to know. And what we're here to do is to offer some perspective and opinions, but what we want to do is hear from you. What do you think? What are you tasting? Are you enjoying what we're tasting here? Do you think we're completely all wet, or is it kind of matching what you're thinking? So we want some feedback from you.
That's right, and make sure that you post, you're watching the video right now, make sure you post in the comments below. We'll take all your questions and we'll give it to the panel. But Marc, try to dig in a little deeper here. What are the mechanics of a wine tasting? We know it's really a sensory experience.
Well, my mantra has always been drink what you like, but to do that, it's really a good thing to be armed with a little bit of knowledge. So the real basics, 3 basic things to know in order: swirl, smell, and sip. When you swirl a wine, you should have only a third of the glass should be filled, so you don't want to slosh it all over the place. You want to smell it. You're going to get notes out of that aroma that may or may not be there in the actual flavor when you taste it. When you finally sniff it, breathe it in, or sip it, I should say, you'll get different flavors on your palate. Your taste buds are in various places on your tongue, and different sensory experiences. You'll get different flavors out of sipping it than you will out of the aroma. And take some time to look at the wine. If you look up in light and see the wine, a slightly darker shade might indicate age. It could be a little older. Doesn't mean bad, it just means a little bit older. Red on the rim on the side, if it's a little brown, that could be an older red wine versus a younger one that has a more purplish tint.
Okay, great. And then Ed, share with us how you selected these 3 wines.
Well, the idea was to have nice summer whites and reds, and we can still do that in lieu of summer being here. These are wines that work well any time of the year, but really geared towards summer entertaining, summer kind of dishes, lighter foods, lighter flavors, great complementary wines. Heavy on the white, rosé, the ultimate summertime wine. The rosé just tastes better in the summertime. And then a nice big browny red that's excellent with grilled foods, grilled meats, nice spicy character. So it's all about not just the wines themselves, but kind of pairing them to summertime cuisine.
All right, great. Well, as we're about to get underway here, we want to remind you again to post your questions in the comment section below. Again, any question that you have, or if you're tasting along with us, we want to hear your feedback. We're going to share our thoughts with you, but we want to hear what you think as well. So let's begin with the Chardonnay, please. So as we pour the wine here, we have some people asking about food pairings, specifically with Chardonnay. Is it something that you should only, and we're actually having some salmon tonight, is it something that traditionally goes with fish, and what other types of foods?
Well, I would say drink what you like and drink what tastes good. It really is, and we're the panel of experts, so we should be the snobs, and that's really not the case. If you don't like Chardonnay, it doesn't matter how much we say this wine goes with the salmon. You're not going to like it. So you have to enjoy the wine first and foremost. But there are some rules, quote unquote, that do apply. You never ever want the wine to overwhelm the food. You're wasting your money if you do that. You're always looking for balance. Wine itself in the glass is all about balance. Balance of flavors, balance of acid, balance of oak, balance of tannins. You want that balance then to translate the balance of flavors between the food and the wine.
Okay, describe to us what you're doing. We see you swirling and sniffing and some other
Acting
things.
like snobs.
Acting like snobs.
But but that's exactly it. I mean, people will say, well, you look like a snob and you're holding it up and you're checking, you're swirling, but you're just adding to the sensory experience. I mean, it just helps you learn more about the wine. There's a lot of different flavors here. I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to say, and this is fun because you can agree or disagree. There's not exactly a wrong or right answer, but I'll say I get some citrus and a little bit of melon out of it.
Yep. Which indicates ripeness a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And again, the way the wine smells or tastes a lot of times is due in part to the growing conditions, how hot it was, how cool it was. Ripeness of the vintage, ripeness of the grapes translates into riper fruit flavors and aromatics in the wine as it's resulting.
All right. And then could you just tell us a little bit of what is a Chardonnay? What makes a really good Chardonnay?
Please.
Again, balance, but Chardonnay is really, I think, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong, Chardonnay is the only grape that has a bit of a controversy, and that is oaked versus unoaked. No other wine out there really is oaked, unoaked rosé, unoaked Syrah, unoaked Syrah. So maybe that's a good kind of segue to explain what oak does to Chardonnay and why those flavors work sometimes and sometimes they don't.
The oak flavor comes about primarily from the storage vessels, from the tanks. There could be stainless steel. You could store wine in stainless steel. You can store it in a variety of different wooden barrels. It could be French, it could be American. Wood, all those items basically yield different flavors. They lead to different flavors. When I taste the Chardonnay, I was like, and I think this would be neat to do, just as there's obviously no right answer, no wrong answer, but I always think of from totally unoaked at 0 to chewing on a wood board, on a cedar board or an oak board at 10, where would you put a wine? And it's just personal preference. I like things a smidgen more oaky. I know my wife loves unoaked Chardonnays. There's plenty out there on both ends of the spectrum. I'm going to say, I'll throw this out and say this is about a 4 in terms of oak.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to preserve the varietal and the appellation. This is from the Alexander Valley in Sonoma County, California. More thought of as a red wine growing climate. It's a warmer climate for Chardonnay, so you're going to get that ripeness like we spoke of earlier. But to Mark's point earlier, there is some oak there, but it doesn't taste like oak. Oak is like, I would say, oak to wine is like salt is to food. You don't want the food to taste salty. You don't really want the wine to taste oaky. It should be an adjunct of flavors.
And the lighter oak in this particular wine is perfect with the salmon that we're going to be enjoying with it, because that brings that kind of citrus note that's light and crisp, and it's a good counterpoint to the richness of the salmon.
Absolutely.
Now, we have someone asking, why are you drinking the wine first before you eat, during a tasting, before you sample the food? And if so, why? Why is that?
The food is going to bring out different flavors. Certain foods with certain wines will bring out either more severe flavors or different flavors. It will react with the wine a certain way. The main pairing that people always love to do and talk about is chocolate and red wine. If you sip red wine, then have a piece of chocolate, and then go back to the red wine, that wine will pucker your mouth out, almost like you're eating a lemon drop candy. It'll be interesting to see what the salmon does here.
Absolutely. And just to point out, this Chardonnay is the Vin Hunter Chardonnay. It's Vin Hunter is our private label wine program. We made this wine with our friends at the Alexander Valley Vineyards in Sonoma. We blend it to our specs. Offers a great value at $14.99. It's a reserve level wine. And we're trying to make a wine that everyone will like. And hopefully our panel will agree with that. And
pretty successful.
All right. Well, I'll let the two of you on the end taste, but Joe, hold off 1 second. Just because we have a question in here about, again, fish and Chardonnay or fish and white wine. That's, a standard pairing there. But they're wondering if they could have red meat with a Chardonnay. Why or why not? Would that work?
I just wrote a piece about the whole art of matching and pairing foods. I really believe that if you enjoy a flavor combination and it's something that you appreciate, then go ahead with it. The reason why certain foods are paired with certain wines is because there are chemical components, esters, aromas, flavor elements that match or contrast well with a certain thing. Like the Pinot the Syrah that we'll be trying. It's a spicy, it's a full-bodied wine, so you want something that's going to match that. That Syrah, might well overwhelm this. So.
Okay, some good advice there. We are getting a question from Lynn in the chat room right now, so Joe, you can start eating, but I'll pose this to one of these guys. Lynn is saying that she's finding the Chardonnay not overwhelmingly oaky, a good balance with a bit of crispness. Would you say that that's pretty accurate?
Lynn, would you like a wine job at Heinen's? That's a pretty accurate description, absolutely.
All right, great. So that's her take on it. And then there is another question in here about the difference between a $20 bottle of wine and a $200 bottle of wine. Can you guys honestly tell the difference?
We would like to hope and think so.
Yeah.
I think we understand why a $20 bottle of wine would sell for $20, why a $200 bottle of wine would sell for $200. That's irrefutable. The price of land, the cost of goods, the care in making the wine. But everyone's palate is unique. Everyone's day is unique. How the wine might be perceptible to your palate on a Monday might be different than it is on a Friday when you try that wine. So it's really good to know the prices. Don't get hung up on price. So price is a part of the equation. It is not the only singular factor of choosing wine.
Absolutely.
I would say, I'll duck the question, but I'll say that Ed is right. And earlier before the show, Ed and I were talking, and I said, this is a great time to be a wine drinker because a $20 bottle now can be phenomenal. I mean, it's wonderful. Haven't had a lot of experience drinking $200 bottles, I have to tell you that.
All right, let's wrap up. Any final thoughts on the Chardonnay? Anything that
I'd like to talk about the pairing, actually.
Okay, yes, please.
If I can just start, I like the pairing a lot because salmon is a fattier fish, and again, it's all about now contrasting the Chardonnay with that crispness that we talked about, that acidity, that tartness. And acidity is not a bad word, so we'll talk about that later. But that acid of the Chardonnay is the backbone of the wine. It allows that fattiness of the fish to balance out the flavors there. I thought it worked out really well.
All right. Anything else, Joe?
A really nice marriage. Good marriage of flavors.
Excellent. Well, they agree with you in the chat room, so that's great.